guys, it's Preachy, and today we're going to do something a little bit new. We're going to do a mod spotlight. Add-ons are very important to every player in the game, and more often than not, the biggest question I ever get asked is, what is your UI? Well, I've done a video on that, but that's not what's important. Everybody has their own unique take on what they find comfortable in UI and what they don't find comfortable. I personally find my UI really helpful for me, but I know I've even given this UI to Ghost that he wanted to do some little changes, and maybe each to their own, and that's what's more important. Your UI should be what you're most comfortable with. A UI is not going to make you play the best in the world. That's just not the case. But today we're going to look at an important add-on, and we're going to answer the question, which is, what the hell is Power Auras, and why do people keep going on about it? What is Power Auras? What the hell does it do? Power Auras is an add-on that's used by pretty much every endgame raider in the game. Power Auras, and what does it do, is quite simple. Power Auras allows you to select anything that can happen to you or happen to a mob in the game and give you a special alert for it that includes timers, big spell effects, sound effects, all that kind of stuff. Now this can be anything, literally anything that can happen to you, from being kidney shotted, cheap shotted, or any buffs that apply to you, or any sort of spell cooldowns, all that kind of stuff, guys. It's an impressive piece of kit, and literally everybody uses it. Why do raiders use it specifically? Because we can create massive alerts for when we get the ultra death bomb of goon and gonna kill us and wipe out your family and your firstborn child, all that kind of stuff. Those debuffs that bosses put on us, and we need to be fully aware of, and we might need to move, we might need to react in some way. Power Auras allows us to do more than what a boss add-on will do. It'll appear in a unique place on the screen. We can add our own sound effects, our animations. We can make the bells and whistles and fireworks shoot off so you can't possibly screw it up. And it really helps a lot of raiders to do this, because especially in new content where boss mods don't exist, we need stuff like Power Auras to deal with debuffs that we've never seen before. A boss add-on doesn't exist for it, so we need to be ready and raring to go, and Power Auras is a way of doing this. The way we get into this, you can get this from Curse Gaming, or you can get it from any other sort of add-on website. It's very freely available. It's called Power Auras. It's going to /power. Okay, this is Power Auras, your first menu. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is the fact that you've got pages and pages of add-ons you can use. 5 pages, and each of them contain tons of tiles where these are all different effects and stuff you can add on to yourself. And we also have global effects that will affect every character. We've got 10 pages of those. So if you set up a Power Aura, for instance, for PvP, that lets you know when you've been silenced with a nice big graphic and a sound effect, so you don't need to know what the hell is going on, why can't I cast? It just says, you have been silenced. You can set that globally, so it can affect all your other characters as well. So you don't need to remake all your Power Auras for everybody. And during the character effects, you can do it individually for each person. I've set up one for myself because I'm a really forgetful guy, super forgetful. And one of the biggest things about changing to a Warlock that I tend to forget is Dark Intent. Dark Intent, now that sounds ridiculous as it's the most craved raid buff in history, and one of the reasons why Warlocks are so angry all the time is that we get asked for Dark Intent every single second. But Dark Intent, I forget to put it on when I'm in a 5-man and stuff like that, and I want it on before I go into combat and that kind of stuff. I just don't want to forget, and I do tend to forget, because that's the type of guy I am. With little things, I tend to forget them. So I've set myself up a Power Aura here, and you can see it's appeared here as a question mark. The Power Aura literally tells me when I don't have Dark Intent on when I'm in a raid or a party. That's it. So when this icon appears, that's why it's hidden at the moment, because I've just set this up. It will appear properly when I've actually used this in a raid, etc. But this tells me this little icon will appear only when I'm in a raid or a party and I don't have Dark Intent casted on somebody. It's just a great little reminder, guys, and this is how we set this up. And I'm going to talk to you about various ways of setting this add-on up, because it has all this stuff, oh my god, and people feel very intimidated. We feel very intimidated when we see things like this. There's a lot of information to take in it, but it's not, and we're going to talk about it individually. Mainly, this is the look and style of the icon. As you can see, it's here. So we've got a size menu. We can just drag that left and right. You can make it bigger. So when we have the super King Kong heavy balls of death explode you, kill everybody around you, we can have an icon that big that says, you have this debuff, react in some way. We can make it as big and small as we want. I just want a nice little one there. And we've got position X, position Y. We can't drag the icon, which is unfortunate. What we can do is drag it left and right doing this. Up and down, easy as you can. It can go to the end and it won't reach all the way to the end of your screen, but you just let go, it'll go back to the beginning, back to the middle, and then you can keep going. Simple as. Nothing special, nothing dangerous, nothing to worry about. Really easy. So I've picked the size of my icon there. Now we can make it look whatever we want, depending on whatever aura we're generating. Whatever we want this to be, we can make it look however we want. We can have glows on it. Ooh, it glows. Or we can add our own wow textures, which can be rings. As you can see down here, or up here, this is what these icons are. They have all sorts of different stuff, all funky different shapes and crazy crap going on. You can have pictures of lions and teddy bears and monkeys and shields, whatever you want. And then we can have it as text, so we can have some words, whatever you want it to say. You can say holy balls, you're about to die, no issue at all. We can have custom textures if you want to add them in, whatever you want it to be. So if you want to have one of those icons, I personally don't like them, but if you can click one of those, you can have a little funky icon. You can have them deformed and ooh, squidgy, look at that, wow, amazing. But you can do whatever the hell you want to it, no problem at all. So that's all that is. That's just the general look of it. This is the important part. This is your activation of stuff, and this is where people get lost because they're not exactly sure how to use this. And it's an incredibly powerful add-on, and it does lots and lots of things. But we take it one step at a time, guys. That's what we always do with our stuff. We take it one step at a time, and we see how it gets on. Activation. This is the most important part of everything. What the hell is this add-on activating for? Why do you want it to do something? Tell the game what the fuck is going on. Why do you want this add-on to do something? So, for this example, I want it to activate by a buff. Now we have a drop-down menu, it's very easy here, that tells you all the stuff it can activate from. And look at this list. We can have it go into runes, spell alerts, spell cooldowns, a stance aura, stealable spells. Is there a buff we can steal? It'll give us a little power aura to show it. AoE debuffs. But the most important type out of all this is quite fiddly, I think, is buff and debuff. A buff on yourself or a buff on the boss. This can be very good in the old days where bosses used to get really immense buffs that we needed to get rid of. We could say a buff, let's say it was enrage and we could get rid of it. We could type we want it to be a buff, we want it to be enrage, you type enrage into there. Dead easy, and then the power aura appears. Nothing special at all. I'm going to keep using this as dark intent because this is what this add-on's for. Bum, bum, bum. Dark intent. So we can choose anything. Debuff on ourselves, we can call it, so let's say it's holy bomb of kick my ass. So we would type into there, holy bomb of kick my ass. And when the holy bomb of kick my ass debuff lands on you up here, and you might need to move, we can have this big giant, oh, there's the icon for holy bomb of kick my ass, okay? Very, very easy stuff, guys. And then you type in whatever you want it to be in there. Very, very easy. So whatever it might be, it could be kidney shot debuff on yourself, it could be silence, it could be kick, whatever you want it to be. I want it to be a buff. And I want that buff to be dark intent. Now, you don't have to type it exactly right in here. You can have it ignore the case if you want, so you don't need to do capital letters and all that stuff. You can have it in the exact name if you want. But generally, if you type it into there, it's going to pick it up. If you're doing something with trinkets, let me fire off a trinket. Go away for a second. Boom. Fire off a trinket like that. My trinket buffs are actually called Ultimate Power, Foul Gift. So those are the actual spells you're looking for. Although your trinket might be called Foul Gift of the Demon Lord, the actual buff is called Foul Gift. Okay, so bear that in mind if you're doing something with trinkets and buffs on yourself with trinkets. One of the common uses of this is to type in many buffs. Now you can do that by just putting a / in. So let's say I wanted this buff to show me when I had all my trinkets buffed. Well, it's very easy. My trinket is called Foul Gift. My other trinket is called Ultimate Power. So just by putting a / and typing those in, literally this icon will now only appear when I have all three of those things at the same time. So when you're doing some big DPS, let's say you're a fire mage and you want to know when to fire off a massive combustion. You want to make sure you've got all your trinkets up. You want to make sure you've got everything set up on the boss nicely. You type that all into there and then the debuff will appear and say, holy cow, now do your combustion, because that's when you're going to really kick some ass. Really nice. I quite like it. So it's easy to use. You just / and type in whatever you want. So now we get down to this next bit, okay? This is where, when and what situation we want this debuff to activate. I want it to be inverted. Now, invert is the idea that it's either a buff, we've said it's a buff up there. Invert will say, is it a buff on us or is it a buff on something else? So by clicking invert, so we've said, I want this buff to be present when I don't have dark intent. Do you understand what I'm saying by inverting that? If I was to turn invert off, this buff, dark intent, would show when I have dark intent, okay? I want this debuff to show me when I don't have dark intent. So by clicking invert, I say to it, I want this to show when the buff, dark intent, is not on me. And by clicking turning invert off, it would show when it is on me. Now, I don't care when it's on me as long as it's on. I just don't want it to be not on. I want the debuff to be, not on me. Easy stuff, okay? So by inverting that, this icon will show up when I do not have dark intent casted, and will remind me, Preach, you should cast dark intent because the buff dark intent is not present on you because you inverted it. When the buff dark intent is on me and I've clicked invert, it won't show. It'll just be a nice empty space. I won't have any icon whatsoever. Really easy. Do you want this to show in combat? Very easy stuff again. But the fact of the matter is, I want Dark Intent make sure I have Dark Intent on before I'm in combat. So no, I don't want that. I want it to tell me before I'm in combat, so I'm not going to select that. I can only really cast Dark Intent when I'm in a party or in a raid. So I'll click yes to these boxes. Only show me this icon when I'm in a party or a raid. And you have other options here, like when you're resting, buffs cast by yourself, when you've got PvP flagged, that kind of stuff. You can choose it however you want, depending. I mean, I'm doing the example of a buff here, but you can have it for anything in the game, really can. And we've got some extra options here. Do you want to show it when it's on a focus target or a party member or a specific unit name? You can type him in. So I only want to show this when I have Dark Intent on, say, Skull or on some other character, Sparkugs, whatever. It can be anything I want to do. You can type in a character name there, a raid member, so a raid party or self, and you can have it in specific things. I only want to see it in 5-man heroics, in PvP, that kind of stuff. I only want this power aura to do anything when I'm in a battleground or I'm in the arena, that kind of stuff. And then it doesn't take up valuable screen space. Very important. The last bit down here while we're sorting it out is specs. Let's say it's Blade Storm. You have a power aura for whatever reason that shows you when you're blade storming with a timer. Obviously your second spec isn't arms, it's fury, so we can turn that off. So don't show me my arms power aura while I'm in second spec. Turn that off and it won't show you. Personally, Dark Intent works for all my specs, so I want it on all. Really easy. The other thing I want to show you is we looked at the look here. Very easy. All this stuff is dedicated to how it looks. Half the screen is dedicated to how it looks. There's a little button here called Use Own Texture. I like that. I don't want it to be deformed though. Go to a normal size. 0.99. One mouse over. Yeah, one. Cool. And I want it to be about that big. Awesome. This will use the actual texture of the spell. Now this is what I prefer rather than using them big power aura icons. I don't like those whatsoever. I like using the own texture. So it's actually the Dark Intent picture, which is this one here. That's what will appear here to tell me I haven't casted Dark Intent on someone. The other stuff we're going to go along here is some very fiddly stuff. Animation. You can have some animation to zoom in, zoom out. At the end of the animation, it will grow. Stuff like that. You can have you can have singing, dancing. You can have Mexican bloody little dancing calypso cups. Whatever you want it to be, you can have it animated. You can have animation speed. All little fiddly stuff. I don't particularly care. I just want the icon to appear when I've not casted Dark Intent. But if you're really fancy about doing that stuff, you want to spend some time playing around with this add-on, this option's all there. Sound. Now this can be very important because boss mods tend to even include sounds now, but let's say we have the King Kong death buff, we're about to die. We want some sound to play. We really do. We want some big animation, and we can have quest sounds, fishing reel-ins, tell me messages, aggro, bam, cats, cookies, moans, phone calls, something that's going to wake you up. So not only do you have this giant icon that appears, but you also have a sound effect to go along with it. We can also have a timer. Ultraxion's a good one for this with the debuff fading light. So we create a debuff fading light. Let's make it so we can do it for us. Why the hell not? We can talk through it and I'll finish up on this. So we'll close this one. We're happy with our Dark Intent one. New debuff. Activation. I want it to activate with a debuff. And I want it to be called fading light. That's the debuff name. I don't want to invert it because I want to know when I have this debuff. I want it to use its own texture, and I want it to be pretty big. So I want to move it down into here. I have this empty space on my UI. As you can see, I have this area on my UI which is free for stuff like this, and this is where I put my important things. Anything I need to be aware of, I have this little space. So we've got a nice big debuff there. I only want it to show me when I'm in a raid. Other than that, I'm happy with that. It's not going to show me all the time. I want to add a timer to it. So we want to show a timer. And now what will happen is, when this appears, it's going to show a big timer, a countdown as well. So when we need to click that heroic will button, I can now see this debuff is on me. I can see the heroic will timer, and I can time it really nicely because I've got a nice big timer appearing here, and that's what's important to me. It really is. It's good stuff. And then we can start to plan better and better, and that's what's important to me. It really is. So we can get a timer alongside it, all to work together nicely, and we've got a time inside it of when it's going to happen, and I can have a sound effect. So we'll have a sound effect. We'll have a phone ringing. No problem at all. So we can check it. All good. So that's how it'll do. And that's how it'll appear. So when I get this debuff, boom, it'll appear like that. There'll be a phone call playing. All that kind of good stuff, guys. Really, really good for me. I really like it. I hope you like it too. So this is Power Auras, guy. Activated by anything you want. You just type a buff, a debuff, combo points. If you want a Power Aura to show you when you've got a combo points. In fact, there's my timer. Let's move that over. This is the only downfall of this add-on, is the moving stuff. You can't drag anything. I want it to be bigger than that as well. Doosh. Down we go. So the icon will appear, and I'll get a timer. Very easy stuff. I'll just get this nice countdown timer. And you can also have the aura actually activate based on a certain amount of time. But just having this add-on, I'll either get the picture, I'll get a countdown timer. I can't possibly fail on fading light. Simple as that, guys. I just simply cannot fail. So easy to do. Takes 2 seconds and I've set that up. And this is the most obvious debuff in the world. So while I'm DPSing, if this big box appears, how can I possibly fail? And that's why we use it, guys. And I really recommend this add-on and I recommend you guys try it out. That's Preachy. That's our little mod spotlight on power auras. You take it easy, guys. I'll see you again.